I didn't wake up that morning planning to get petty. There was no dramatic music, no villain origin energy, no cosmic sign that today was the day someone would test me in the frozen food aisle. I just wanted oat milk. That's it. Oat milk, maybe some snacks, and a peaceful checkout line. That was the vision. It was a regular afternoon, sunny, calm, boring in the best way. I threw on a hoodie, grabbed my reusable shopping bag like a responsible adult, and walked to the local grocery store a few blocks from my place. It's nothing fancy. It's the kind of store where the lighting is too bright, and the produce looks vaguely stressed, but it's close and it works. I wasn't in a rush. I wasn't in a bad mood. In fact, I was in rare form, clear-minded playlist on shuffle, and internally rating the snack aisle like I was on an episode of Chopped. My basket had maybe 10 things in it. Some chips, hummus, a drink, a frozen meal or two. Classic single-girl grocery haul, nothing unhinged. Eventually, I make my way to the checkout area. There are only 2 lanes open, one with a mom and a full cart, a big no, and the other with a single guy already paying and a woman in front of me with just a few things. Perfect. The line's moving. My earbuds are in. Life is fine. Or so I thought. I'm literally next. The woman in front of me moves up to the counter, and I'm just standing there, zoning out and scrolling through my phone while keeping half an eye on the conveyor belt. Standard stuff. And that's when she showed up. Out of nowhere, this woman mid-40s, sunglasses on, indoors, classic red flag, holding 3 random items, walks right in front of me and inserts herself between me and the register, like I'm just not there. No excuse me, no mind if I hop in. No polite gesture to indicate she thought I wasn't in line, just a straight-up bold-faced cut. At first, I was stunned. I didn't even say anything. I just blinked and thought, okay, maybe she's confused, maybe she thinks the line starts here? But no, she didn't look confused. She looked entitled. She placed her 3 items down like she owned the register. And me? Still trying to give people the benefit of the doubt, I stayed quiet, because sure, it was annoying, but it was 3 things: a soda, some kind of gum, and one of those protein bars nobody actually likes. I told myself, fine, whatever, let her go, it's not worth it. But then, she looked at me, not a glance, not a polite sorry kind of expression. She gave me that up and down, silently judging, condescending, ugh, people like you look, you know the one. And right then, I felt my intrusive thoughts stretch, yawn, and clock in for their shift. You'd think someone who cuts in line would at least have the decency to look mildly apologetic. A quick sorry, I'm in a rush, lie. A fake confused glance toward the non-existent other end of the line. Something, anything, to make it seem like she didn't mean to do what she just very obviously did. But nope, this woman stepped in front of me with all the confidence of someone who's been getting away with things her whole life. Like the kind of person who starts arguments with flight attendants. The kind of person who returns half-used lotion and demands store credit. She placed her items down on the belt, adjusted her oversized sunglasses again, indoors, and then turned and gave me that look. You know the one. The full body scan. That slow, eye-level to toes judgment parade that says, I've decided I'm better than you and I don't care who knows it. It wasn't even subtle. She didn't glance. She evaluated. She clocked my outfit, my hair, the contents of my basket, and then tilted her chin like I'd offended her simply by existing behind her in line. Like I was the rude one. Like I was somehow in her way. Let me be clear. I wasn't dressed fancy. Just a hoodie, leggings, and my standard I live 5 blocks away and don't care if I run into anyone face. But the way she looked at me, you'd think I walked in barefoot, holding a feral raccoon. And it was in that moment that something inside me quietly snapped. Because listen, I'm not a confrontational person. I'm not out here fighting people over parking spaces or flipping carts in Whole Foods. But I am a firm believer in the power of tiny consequences. The quiet kind. The kind you don't see coming. The kind you remember. So I looked down at my basket. Nothing crazy, just a few snacks. A drink. 1 frozen item. Not light, but not heavy either. And then I thought, you know what? Let's find out if she's got the same attitude when she's on the receiving end of a little silent karma. I didn't speak. I didn't raise my voice. I just shifted my weight and took one step forward, basket in hand. She had no idea what was coming. But me? Oh, I knew exactly what I was about to do. There's something delicious about the moment right before you do something petty. Not mean, not aggressive, just perfectly inconvenient. It starts with that slow mental shift, when your brain goes from just let it go to absolutely not. And mine? It was fully activated. Standing behind this line-cutting, sunglass-wearing, silently judging woman, I weighed my options, literally. My shopping basket wasn't heavy enough to cause any real damage, let's not be dramatic, but it definitely had enough bulk to make her feel something. A little thud, a soft excuse me, nothing that would land me on a security camera highlight reel, just a message, a gentle one. So I held my basket with both hands, gave it a little bounce, estimated the drop zone, recalculated my wrist angle like I was about to tee off at a country club, all while she stood there in front of me, smug and oblivious, thinking the line was hers now. What she didn't realize was, this was my line, and I'd been trained for moments like this by every rude customer, every snide coworker, every person who'd ever tried to steamroll me in silence, because they thought I wouldn't push back. But that's the thing, you don't have to yell to push back. Sometimes, you just let gravity do the work. So I took one slow, casual step forward, no rush, no warning, no excuse me, and then, I let go, dropped the basket, direct hit, right on her foot. It wasn't violent, no one screamed, it wasn't dramatic, no one turned their heads, but I felt the impact, and more importantly, so did she. She flinched like someone had just snapped their fingers right next to her ear. Let out this tiny gasp, just loud enough for me to hear. Her shoulder tensed, she shifted her weight off the foot, and me? I looked at her, dead in the face, raised one brow, and with the calmest, most disinterested voice I could manage, I said, "Oh, sorry," and picked my basket right back up like I'd just dropped a napkin. Then I proceeded to place my groceries on the belt, calm, unbothered, petty as hell. The silence behind me was glorious. She didn't say a word, she just stood there blinking, trying to decide whether she'd been attacked or politely corrected by fate. Either way, she knew. I was done being silent. The sound it made, thud, not loud, not violent, but solid, just heavy enough to say, I was here, and I noticed. Her foot wasn't crushed, let's be real. This wasn't some WWE takedown, but that grocery basket had enough frozen food and snack weight to deliver a message directly to her toes. You messed with the wrong girl's place in line. She flinched, like the floor had suddenly betrayed hers. It wasn't pain, it was shock. That moment of "did that just happen?" flickering across her face as she clutched her protein bar and twisted ever so slightly to look down at her foot, then back at me, and there I was, calm, cool, holding my just dropped it expression like an Oscar-nominated queen. "Oh, sorry," I said, soft, neutral, almost sweet, like the kind of sorry you give when you accidentally bump into someone, not the kind you give when you've strategically dropped a basket on their foot for being a self-important line-cutting menace. I picked it up like nothing happened, and placed my items on the conveyor belt. She didn't move, didn't say anything, just stared at me, lips slightly parted, eyes wide like she was still buffering, and for a split second, I swear, I could see the entitlement drain out of her posture. Because there's a universal language in moments like this, when a petty action is delivered with perfect subtlety. She knew exactly why it happened, and she knew she'd earned it. She didn't have the nerve to argue, couldn't defend herself without admitting she cut the line, couldn't call for sympathy when she gave me that look moments earlier. She stood there frozen, and I stood there glowing. I didn't need to escalate, didn't need a witness, didn't need a clapback. The basket drop said everything. Behind me, the store stayed silent. No gasps, no drama. Just one guy, 2 carts down, suppressing a grin, and the cashier pretending not to notice the world's softest power move unfolding 2 feet away. And let me tell you, that silence was power. It wasn't just about reclaiming my spot in line. It was about reclaiming my dignity without saying a damn word. She wanted to act like I was invisible. Now she couldn't stop feeling me. Right there in her foot, her pride, and her ego. There are "I'm sorry," and then there are strategic sorries. The kind you deliver with a smile that means absolutely nothing. No guilt, no sincerity, just a hollow courtesy, wrapped in silk, dipped in ice. And that's exactly what I gave her. "Oh sorry," just like that. Soft, breathless, a half smirk riding on the edge of it. Not quite sarcastic, but just detached enough to say, "I hope your foot and your pride are both slightly bruised," respectfully. I didn't linger. I didn't follow up. I didn't give her a second glance, because the real magic of that moment wasn't in the basket drop. It was in how casually I walked away from it. Like I didn't just rewrite the power dynamics of the entire checkout lane. I placed my groceries on the belt one by one, slowly, intentionally. I wasn't rushing. I wasn't flustered. I was in control. Meanwhile, she stood behind me, holding her little items like they were anchors, and trying to figure out how this went from her getting away with line cutting, to her rethinking all her life decisions at the register. She didn't speak, and honestly, I think that silence hurt her more than any snappy comeback ever could. Because now she had to live in it. She had to feel every second of that awkward air, the heavy kind that fills up when someone's ego has just been checked, and they can't find the manual on how to repair it. You know what that sorry really meant? It meant, "I see you. I clocked your little power play, and I just flipped it without raising my voice or stepping out of line. It meant, I don't need to yell to own this room. It meant, you thought you were going to disrespect me and walk away untouched. Try again." I could feel her eyes burning into the back of my head, waiting for me to turn around, to justify myself, to engage. But no, I don't engage with people who already lost. That's not petty, that's efficient. It's one thing to stand up for yourself. It's another thing entirely to do it without even breaking the rhythm of your grocery run. And that's what made it perfect. The sorry wasn't the apology, it was the statement. It was the punctuation mark on a moment that didn't need yelling or drama, just gravity, timing, and a basket full of boundary enforcement. There's a certain kind of hush that falls when something perfectly wrong happens in public, the kind of silence that buzzes with quiet respect, like everyone just witnessed a moment that shouldn't be spoken about but absolutely should be remembered. That's what filled the checkout lane, after I dropped my basket on her foot, and fake apologized with the chill of a woman who knew exactly what she was doing. And the best part, no one said a thing, no gasp, no scolding, no cashier stopping the belt and asking if everything was okay, just vibes. I could feel it all around me, the subtle tension of strangers processing what they just saw, all while pretending to look at gum or Red Bull like nothing had happened. But I know people saw. I know, because one guy, 2 lanes over, did that thing where he looks up from his phone, scans the situation with a faint smirk, then quickly looks back down, like he was trying not to let me catch him silently cheering me on. Another woman near the flower display peeked up over a bouquet and side-eyed the scene like it was live theater. She didn't say anything, but her raised eyebrows said it all. Finally, someone handled it. Even the cashier, stone-faced professional, but her hands moved a little slower, like she was listening, like she felt the shift in the room. That's the beautiful thing about subtle revenge. When you don't scream, when you don't fight, when you don't make a scene, you let everyone else fill in the blanks. They watch, they assume, they replay it in their heads later that night, while folding laundry, wondering if you really did what they think you did, and why it felt so right. And the woman? She didn't even pick a fight. Because what would she say? She dropped her basket on my foot, after I cut her in line, and glared at her like a suburban villain. She knew she couldn't play the victim here. She had her chance to keep things clean. She chose ego, and she got education, in the form of a 4-pound grocery basket, and one perfectly timed, "Oh sorry." Now she was stuck in line behind me, gripping her items like props in a play she didn't audition for, just trying not to make eye contact with the girl who put her in her place without saying a single mean word. And me? I placed the last item on the belt, hands steady, expression neutral, basking in the quiet understanding that everyone here knew exactly what just happened, and none of them were mad about it. she stayed. That's what really got me. She could have walked off, pretended she forgot something, even bailed mid-line, and blamed the basket incident for ruining her vibe. But no, she stayed. She stood behind me, tight-lipped, frozen, holding her 3 sad little items with all the grace of a villain mid-character collapse. And the best part, she never looked at me again. Not a glance, not a side-eye, not even that smug little up and down she hit me with just moments earlier. Her eyes were glued to the floor, or the gum rack, or the receipt printer, anywhere but me, because now she knew. She wasn't in charge here. She never was. The same woman she scanned and dismissed in one silent second had just handed her a low-grade fully deserved foot check, followed by the kind of poised, calculated I said what I said energy that only makes sense when you've been underestimated one too many times. I could feel her behind me, her breathing a little heavier, her shifting just enough to make it obvious she was uncomfortable. She'd come in bold, thinking she could step in front of me and claim my spot without consequence. And now she was standing in shame, hoping the floor would swallow her and the protein bar she was holding like a failed life decision. I didn't even need to look back. I knew her exact posture, that stiff don't make me more visible stance. Arms folded a little too tightly, neck tucked slightly forward, shoulders just a bit hunched, the universal language of someone who just got politely wrecked in public. I wanted to say something else, not to gloat, I didn't need to, but just to confirm the moment. Something like everything okay back there. But I didn't, because silence when weaponized correctly, is a form of dominance, and mine was absolute. I gave her space to leave, and she didn't take it. I gave her a chance to speak, and she stayed quiet. Now she was stuck behind me, waiting for her turn, surrounded by a dozen unspoken truths that hung in the air like a fog of petty glory. She didn't get her way. She didn't get to win, and worst of all, she didn't get to feel superior anymore. And if you've ever dealt with someone who lives for that tiny little rush of smug self-importance, you know that losing it cuts deeper than any words ever could. So I paid no attention to her anymore. I just watched the items move down the belt like normal, calm, unbothered. Meanwhile, she stood behind me, still, silent, and significantly less bold than she was 5 minutes ago. I've never felt more regal paying for frozen dumplings in my life. There I was, standing at the register, swiping my card with the kind of grace normally reserved for red carpets and revenge movies. The scanner beeped, the bagger did their thing, the total popped up like background noise. Meanwhile, the woman behind me, still silent, still stuck, still pretending the floor tiles were so interesting. And me? I was calm, cool, collected. I didn't fumble with my wallet, didn't rush my bags. I even took the extra second to click no when the card reader asked if I wanted cash back, not because I needed time, but because I wanted her to feel every second. I could feel her discomfort clinging to the air like static. You know that energy shift when someone realizes they're no longer the main character. That was her. The sunglasses were off now, probably to look less obnoxious. Her posture was different too. Stiff, smaller. Funny how fast confidence dissolves when met with consequences. I didn't say another word. I didn't even look back. I just smiled politely at the cashier, grabbed my bag, and walked off like I'd been invited to the finale of a show I didn't even audition for, because that's how effortless the win felt. There was no need for a big exit, no dramatic monologue, no over-the-shoulder insult, because everything that needed to be said had already been delivered, via basket, smirk, and silence. That woman came into that checkout lane with an attitude. She thought she could skip the line, and looked down her nose at someone she didn't even know, and now? She was standing exactly where she belonged behind me. I walked out of that store like I owned it. Not because I said so, but because the room knew so. Everyone around us had watched it happen. They saw the look, they saw the drop, they heard the sorry, and no one intervened. That's how you know justice was served, not through chaos, but through quiet domination. By the time I stepped out into the sunshine, grocery bag swinging by my side, I wasn't just carrying snacks, I was carrying vindication. No yelling, no scene, just one woman reclaiming her spot in line, and doing it so smoothly that the other woman couldn't even process what hit her. And honestly, I hope every time she shops there again, she remembers the moment, not because of the pain, not because of the embarrassment, but because of how quickly things change when you forget that basic decency still matters. The sun was still out as I walked home, grocery bag swinging, earbuds back in, and the smallest smile tugging at my lips like I had a secret the world would never guess, because I did. No one knew what had happened in that store except me, her, and a few lucky bystanders who got to witness a lesson in low-stakes, high-impact justice. I didn't tell anyone, didn't post it, didn't need to text the group chat with a play-by-play. The satisfaction wasn't performative, it was personal. And I think that's what made it feel so good. It wasn't about revenge, not really, it was about balance. I didn't scream, I didn't confront her, I didn't escalate the situation in a way that would make me look like the crazy one. I just responded, silently, strategically, and in a way she'll absolutely remember. She didn't get hurt, but she got checked. And in this world, where people like her are so used to walking through life unchecked, that matters. People talk a lot about taking the high road, and sure, sometimes that's the way. Sometimes you walk away because your peace is more important than a petty win, but other times, the low road has better lighting, and significantly more satisfaction, because being polite should never mean being passive, and kindness doesn't mean letting people step on you while smiling. The truth is, she was never going to learn from someone explaining it to her. She'd have brushed it off, dismissed it, labeled me overreacting. People like her live for that, the gaslight deflect, move on cycle, but dropping a basket, that speaks a different language. It says, I saw you. It says, you're not invisible, and I'm not here to make you feel like you won. It says, there are consequences, even if they're quiet ones. And maybe that's the real takeaway, that sometimes the smallest actions send the loudest messages. I didn't need to be mean, I just needed to be clear. And now, every time she sees a basket in someone's hand, I guarantee you, she'll think twice before cutting in line again. That's called behavior modification, and I provided it for free. So as I walked home, dumplings secured, petty spirit fulfilled, I felt proud, because I stood up for myself, not with rage, not with volume, but with precision. And if she tells this story to someone later, I hope she leaves out the details, because the truth would be too embarrassing to admit. It was just a basket, plastic, blue, a little scuffed around the handles, maybe 5 or 6 pounds, tops. Nothing dramatic, nothing special, and yet, it made a point she'll probably never forget, because that moment, that single silent drop, it wasn't about pain, it wasn't about vengeance, it was about presence. It said, I see you. I see what you did, and I'm not the one. She wanted to cut in line, give me a look, and own the space like it was hers. Instead, she left that checkout lane walking just a little slower, not because her foot hurt, but because her pride limped. And the best part, I never raised my voice. I didn't need backup. I didn't cause a scene or storm out shouting. I simply reminded her, in the most unexpected way possible, that some of us aren't afraid to say no without saying a word. So many women are taught to stay silent, to be accommodating, to brush things off. We're told to take the high road, let the small stuff go, and smile through disrespect. But every now and then, you get tired of shrinking. You get tired of pretending it's not a big deal when someone steps in front of you, literally or metaphorically. And on that day, I decided I wasn't going to shrink, not for a woman in designer sunglasses and a bad attitude. It was just a moment, just a basket, just a petty little shift in weight. But in that moment, I got something so many of us secretly crave, justice with flair, not explosive, not dramatic, just clean, quiet and cold. The kind of revenge that doesn't need to be explained, the kind that makes its point without ever having to say it twice, the kind that walks out of the store with oat milk in one hand and dignity in the other. And honestly, she may not remember what she went there to buy, but she'll remember me. Not my name, not my voice, just the girl who didn't flinch, the one who dropped a basket on her foot, and walked away like a queen.